Hey guys, hope you're good. So, I'm going to talk about building muscle with minimal fat gain. The reason why I want to talk about this is because a lot of people jump into a gaining phase and they just gain way too much body fat. And obviously, you don't want that. When you're trying to build muscle, you want to do it in a fashion where you're keeping body fat as low as possible while you're gaining as much muscle. So how do we do this? Firstly, we need to look at your starting point because this is a big factor when it comes to how much actual muscle you can build, how much weight you can actually gain. So I would always suggest that you start off, when you're embarking on this gaining phase, start off at a lower body fat percentage. So you may need to cut some body fat first before you actually start gaining. I would say when you can see visible abs, then that's a good position to start. If you can't see visible abs, drop some more body fat and then you're in a good position to build. Because what happens is if you're in a higher body fat percentage, your ability to gain muscle is lower and the length of time that you're gaining is shorter. Because obviously when you are building muscle, you are going to gain body fat. You do want to keep it to a minimum, but it's just going to happen. So it's always best to be in a good position. And yes, we can look at body fat percentage, like we could start at 6, 7, 8. It doesn't matter. For me, a good indication is looking at your physique and seeing if you've got visible abs. I would say at least a very visible 4-pack, possibly 6-pack. Everyone's different in where they hold body fat, but that for me is a good indication that you're probably in a good position to start building from there. Okay, so when we start building, what we need to be aware of is how much food that we're consuming and how much activity we're doing, because this is going to determine the rate of gain. And again, if we're gaining too fast, then we're going to gain too much body fat and this gaining phase is going to be cut short. Everyone wants to gain muscle without fat, but it's going to happen. Like I said, how do we know if we're gaining body fat and how do we know if we're gaining muscle? That's always hard to tell. You're going to have to look at your pictures. You're going to have to look at your training progress. But overall, if you are consistent and doing it in a slow fashion, then you should be gaining muscle. So when it comes to your calorie intake, you want to be bumping this up each week if needed, depending on how much weight you're gaining. A good rate of gain is around 0.8 to 1 pound per week. Anything more than that, you're probably going a little bit too fast. Anything less than that, you're probably going too slow. So that's where I like to have the rate of gain, around 0.8 to 1 pound per week. There's going to be fluctuations, obviously. But how we monitor this is looking at how much calories we're consuming and how much energy we're expending. Your steps, your cardio, and obviously your training. Now, another thing that we have to look at here is our training performance, because ultimately this is what's going to help us build that muscle. We need to make sure that we are progressively overloading the muscle each week. If we're not getting stronger, it's going to be very, very hard, near on impossible to build muscle. So when you're getting stronger each week, you're progressing your lifts, you're hitting PRs, your body is going to grow as long as you're getting sufficient calories. Now, let's jump straight into the calories and the macros, because this is another reason why a lot of people struggle to build muscle. They're not eating enough food and they're not eating enough protein. Many clients that come to me, they struggle to build muscle because they're simply not consuming the right amount of protein. A good guideline is to start off with 1 gram per pound. That is sufficient to build muscle. Sometimes I like to go a little bit more. It all depends on the individual. But if you're hitting 1 gram per pound of body weight protein, then that's a good amount to build muscle. But you've got to be consistent with that. It's not a case of hitting it 2 to 3 times a week and the other 4 days you're hitting 0.5 because you're just not getting the benefits of getting that protein in. So alongside getting your protein in, sufficient calories, getting stronger, monitoring how much weight you're gaining each week by looking at your pictures, looking at the scales, you should be gaining muscle without gaining too much body fat. If you have complete disregard to how many calories you're consuming, then you're on a bulk and you're just eating as much food as you can to gain weight, to gain muscle. But what happens is you're going to gain too much body fat. Your off season, or should I say your gaining phase, is going to be cut short, and you're going to be like, did I even build any muscle? Because it's so easy, and if you've tried it, you'll know, so easy to gain weight in a short period of time when you've got no awareness of how much food you're consuming. So tracking your calories is going to be vital, making sure you're getting enough protein in, making sure that you're progressing your lifts each week, looking at your pictures each week, looking at your weight each week, and then you can make the changes. Stay consistent with that, and then you should be 6 months' time. Let me do the quick maths. On average, a pound a week. What's that? 6 months, 24 weeks, 24 pounds. That's a good length of time in a gaining phase. If you used to do it that nice and slow, steady, consistent way, 24 to 26 pounds, around that in 6 months' time, and then you'd look to do a mini cut. And I'll talk about mini cuts on a different video. But today, obviously, I just want to get the basics when it comes to building muscle with minimal body fat. Again, we have to understand that we are going to be gaining body fat. It's part of it. In that 6 month gaining phase, if you used to gain around 24, 26 pounds of weight, that doesn't mean you're going to be gaining 26 pounds of muscle. You might only gain 4 pounds of muscle. In actual fact, 4 pounds is pretty good. So the ratio of fat to muscle, we're never going to know. The only way we can find out how much body muscle that we've built is if when we do the cut next time and reduce the body fat, we can see how much muscle we've built compared to the last time, compared to when we was lean last time. Okay, so hope that was helpful, guys. This is the first video I've done on YouTube for a long time, so I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is going to give you updates on when my next video is going to come. As always, if you have any questions, any topics that you want me to cover, please comment down below, and then I can get some new videos up for you. See you guys soon.